Hey everyone, Rami here, and today we'll be talking about the format as table function. So if I were to select anywhere in my data and I clicked on format as table, you can see this will then autocomplete for you and will give you the boundaries of your table. So I've got from A1 all the way down to Z2824. And I'm saying here that my table has headers because I've got like a column here, a row here that has headers, which is basically the title of each column. And then I'm going to click OK. Now, this isn't just a styling option. When you do a format as table, it gives you different options that you can start using, and this goes into the table design. So one of the main features that I like about formatting things as tables and using them as tables is two things. The first thing is the slicer. So when I click on the table and go to table design, I can go to insert slicer. And what this will do is I can select the column that I want to start slicing on. And we'll talk about what a slicer is. So let me say I select the city. Now here I've got a list of all the cities that my table shows. And I can start selecting the city from the slicer. And this helps so that you can quickly see the data rather than you filtering on this data every time. Now you can also select more than one. And the way to do this is the first thing to do is to select one value, the first value that you want. And then you've got two options. Either you hit control, like hold control down or command, and then start selecting more than one city. And this will give you the 5 cities I've selected. Or if I go back to the default, I can select one and then you've got the multi-select here. And this will let me do this without holding down control. Now, slices are really useful because it helps me visualize what data do I have, and I can select more than one to filter or just the one. Now, with slices, when you select a slicer, it gives you different options, and we'll kind of walk you through this real quick. So here is where you start styling your slices. You can make it orange, you can make it gray. You can also go to like new slicer style and kind of go crazy with your design. And one thing that I regularly use is the columns, because here I can increase the columns of the slicer so that it's not all stacked one over the other. You can actually have 3 columns, especially for values that are quite small and not that big. You can have the flexibility of having it as 3 columns so you can see all the cities in a smaller view. Now, going back to the table and what we can use the table for, I can remove duplicates. Obviously, you can do this normally in a different range, but with remove duplicates here, it's a lot simpler because I'm kind of selecting which columns do I want to remove duplicates on. It's very similar to what you would do with ranges, but this will just do it on a table level. I can also do summarize with pivot table. This will just summarize this into a pivot table. It's the same as you using a normal data, but it's a bit quicker. Plus, the difference between having a pivot table connected to your table rather than a range is that when I go to pivot table, and we will be talking about this later, you will see the change data source. Now here, you can see the table / range is table 1. If I were to expand my data and add more to this table, the pivot table will update accordingly. But for some of you who have experience with this slightly, they will know that a normal range, when you add data to it, the pivot table doesn't update. You would need to update the pivot table's source every time you add more data to your table. Now, going back to the table design, I can also do things like adding a total row. Like a total row will add a row at the end of your table where I can start choosing functions. So you can see here it auto put the sum function. Here you can see it's sum. I can also do things like max, min, and so on. And you can do this on any number column. So for example, here sales, I can do the total sales, or if I wanted to do the average, you get this. One quick hint is when you get this hash value, that means that your column is too small for the value. I just need to expand it slightly so that I can see the full value. The other functions that you get with the tables is that I can do the first column, which makes the first column bold. I can get the last column, which gets the last column to be bold. Like really, these are styling choices that you can kind of play with. The banding columns just gives you the columns to be kind of more bordered, and it also shows a lot more when you've got things like this one, where it's got that style in it. And I can remove the banded rows, like if you wanted just the rows to be highlighted, and so on. You can also remove the filter buttons if you don't want to, and you can do it by clicking on the filter button. And that's all for today. This is tables, and next time we can talk more about putting pivot tables together and kind of analyze them in a better way. Thank you.